Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting of Monday, March 5th, 2018. I'm Katie Tang, chair of this committee. To my left is Supervisor Safai. Our clerk is Victor Young, and we'd like to thank Jesse Larson and Maya Hernandez from SFGov TV. Mr. Clerk, are there any announcements?
Yes, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. Completed speaker cards and copies of any documents to be included as part of the file should be submitted to the clerk. Items acted upon today will appear on the March 13, 2018 Board of Supervisors agenda unless otherwise stated.
Thank you, and I believe that we will need a motion to excuse Supervisor Kim from our meeting today. Can I get a motion? So moved. All right. Without objection, Supervisor Kim is excused. And Mr. Clerk, can we please call item number 1?
Item number 1, ordinance amending the planning code to designate the wall located at the intersection of Diamond Heights Boulevard and Clipper Street in Assessors Parcels Block number 7504, Lot 011, as landmark under Article 10 of the Planning Code.
Thank you, and we have a representative from Supervisor Sheehy's office here today who's a sponsor of this project.
Thank you, Chair Tang and Supervisor Safai. My name is Colton Lambright, and I work for Supervisor Sheehy, and I just wanted to express our full support for the landmark designation before you. And now, who can speak to it a little bit more is Desiree Smith from the Planning Department, and she has a PowerPoint for you.
Good afternoon, supervisors. This is Desiree Smith with the Planning Department. The item before you today is consideration to recommend landmark designation of Diamond Heights Safety Wall, a public sculpture located on the south side of Diamond Heights Boulevard at Clipper Street and Portola Drive in the Diamond Heights neighborhood. The property was nominated for landmark designation through a community-sponsored landmark application submitted by Robert Pullum to the department on May 1st, 2017. On November 1st, 2017, the Historic Preservation Commission initiated landmark designation, and on December 20th, 2017, voted unanimously to recommend approval of landmark designation to the Board of Supervisors. The Diamond Heights Safety Wall is significant under Criterion A, Important Events, for its association with the Diamond Heights Redevelopment Project, a planning effort led by the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency from 1961 to 1978 that resulted in a dramatic reshaping of the area from largely undeveloped hills into a neighborhood characterized by post-war modernist master planning, Bay Area regional modernist design, mixed housing typologies, and expansive views of downtown San Francisco, Glen Canyon, and the Bay. The site-specific public work of art is also significant under Criterion C as a notable work of Bay Area artist and architect Stefan Alexander Novak, and is a visual landmark, a gateway into Diamond Heights that captures the aesthetic identity of the neighborhood, which is characterized by a uniquely Bay Area regional idiom of modernist design. Its period of significance is 1968, which corresponds with the year of construction. The structure also retains good integrity. Lastly, the subject property meets 2 of the HPC's priorities for designation, which include buildings of modern design and buildings located in neighborhoods that are currently underrepresented among the list of designated historic sites in San Francisco. The department received 19 letters in support of designation, which were included in your packets. We've since received one more, which I have hard copies of. And the HPC believes the building meets the eligibility requirements for landmark designation, and that designation is warranted. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. When I was going through the packet, I had, even as someone who grew up in San Francisco, realized that I've never seen this and found it to be quite amazing that it's here. So I really look forward to visiting it one day. I was wondering who's actually responsible for maintaining the wall?
That's a great question. According to the records that we found, it does look like the Department of Public Works may or may not have a role. That's what we're trying to assess right now. The property was originally, as indicated in the report, the property of the Redevelopment Agency. So now it's property of the city. And I do have someone here from DPW who, if you have questions to that, he's here. If you'd like to.
Sure. I'd love to just confirm, especially if we're going to designate it as a historic designation, I wanted to make sure we're actually maintaining this.
So yeah, that's a really good question. We are checking currently. I'm Boris Donov from the Department of Public Works Regulatory Affairs. So the planning department actually approached us just a couple of weeks ago that this would be a landmark and that we apparently may be responsible because they looked at some paperwork which they submitted to us. We're currently checking if this is all true. There are some old documents. We are currently checking with the Department of Real Estate if these are verifiable. It looks as if we are responsible for it, but we are still checking, so I can't really give you a definite on this right now. We usually regularly maintain retaining walls, and we have a certain annual budget for those, and we maintain them at a regular interval. This was not one of the structures, just like you, having been in San Francisco for a long time, I've never seen it. I didn't even know it was existent. And in Public Works, our maintenance group is also not aware that we actually have ever worked on this or responsible of maintaining it. So that's something that's a big question that we're trying to figure out right now. Of course, if we were to be responsible, now it is a landmark status that comes with certain requirements. In-kind replacement, it comes with, we have to maintain the looks, we have to maintain the material. And if there's any other material, it would have to go through the Arts Commission and Historic Preservation Committee. Is that correct? Historic Preservation Committee. So it comes with a lot of different hurdles that we would have to jump through. So that's why we're carefully checking, but that's the only update I can give at this moment.
Okay. I think if possible, perhaps if your department or Supervisor Sheehy's office can email maybe the supervisors by the board meeting just to make sure, because I think it is really important. This is quite a large structure, so we want to make sure it's safe, it doesn't fall on anyone or anything like that. And then again, with this designation, want to make sure that its integrity is preserved. So it would make me feel more comfortable if I could get an answer by the time we have to vote on this at the board meeting. The full board, that is.
We have actually our structural engineer, Raymond Louis, look at this right now, because it is called, I think, it's called a retaining wall, others it's called a safety wall, and we're not quite sure what safety element it's supposed to address, but it's definitely an art installation. So I don't know, there was a gentleman who raised a hand. I don't know if you wanted to.
We can only have departments come up at the moment, but if they want to address that during the public comment section, then we'll
But that's
we'll
the only update I can officially give from Public Works at this moment.
Well, I'll look forward to a follow-up before the board meeting. Thank you.
you.
So now I'm going to open, Supervisor Safai.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple more. I mean, the redevelopment agency no longer exists, but there is a successor agency. So is that successor agency responsible for this redevelopment area?
That's something I'm not sure of. I mean, according to the records that we've been able to find, it does look like it's city property, but which department is responsible?
So
I'm not sure.
okay, thanks. Can you put the picture back up again, please? Of the actual previous picture. The one that shows you the 68 and today. Yeah, I actually... Yeah, see, it's called a safety wall. Also, this large pine tree, is that in the city public right of way, or is it on the actual land itself? You know?
So the lot that this structure is on, again, it appears to.
So it's the entire lot.
It's the entire lot, right? And it appears to be on an easement that's owned by the city. Now, the planning department has reached out to the Department of Real Estate and, of course, DPW, and we haven't been able to get an affirmative answer on.
I would say, actually, Supervisor, I'm happy to take public comment on this. I think this is a really beautiful structure. I think it's. I've driven by it quite a few times because I go down that area often. It didn't jump out at me, but I know exactly where it is. I don't feel comfortable sending this forward without having answers to those questions. I think it's important because having worked for the Department of Public Works, I know there's a very limited amount of money available for maintenance. It also seems like this is a former redevelopment area. And if it is a redevelopment area, then OCII should be contacted. I understand that they are focusing on other parts of the city, but they might have money from impact fees that they might be able to redirect over here for maintenance. I would not want that to be solely on Department of Public Works, come out of their budget with having answers to those questions. It seems like we still have a lot of unanswered questions. Unless there's an urgency to landmark this, then I think we should give ourselves a little bit more time. That would be my recommendation before we make a formal motion to send this to the full board. But I'm happy to listen to public comment. But it sounds like we need more direction from the city departments.
Okay, and again, I'll also listen to public comment, but I think just for these types of issues, we want to make sure that everything is, clear and everyone has an understanding of the responsibilities before they come here to the committee. So I'm going to call public comment. So if I call your name, please come line up and speak. Everyone will have 2 minutes. Bob Pullum, Betsy Eddy, Michael Busk. I can't read this, I apologize, but something Hendricks, Ed Scheffner, and Carl Arnson. So please come on up.
Hello, I'm Bob Pullum, Robert Pullum. I'm the one that brought forward the landmark designation process. I moved to the Diamond Heights neighborhood in 1999. I'm a big lover of mid-century design and was very excited. I become very passionate about things when I get involved, and did a lot of research in architectural guidebooks and articles and found out this rich history behind the neighborhood. And through that, I became involved with an organization, Docomomo, which is about the documentation and conservation of buildings of the modern movement, through their Northern California chapter, and now I'm on their national board. And through that research I did, the SF Redevelopment Agency was open at that time. I found all these great articles about the competitions that were in the neighborhood, and one of the competitions was for the safety wall. And actually, I found all the documents that I submitted with the landmark designation. At that time, that was around 2002. I noticed that it was all overgrown. I got in touch with Bevan Dufty's office, and things didn't really go anywhere. And then I was at a meeting, Diamond Heights Community Association meeting in 2015, where something came up about the safety wall, and I said I would love to be involved to help, bring it back to life and restore it. And around that time, John King had written an article in the SF Chronicle, which said in 2015.
30
You have
seconds.
30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. He wrote an article reminding us, urban art has never been confined to sculptures in a park or murals on a wall. Rarely, though, does it double as a safety barrier. Yet that's the origin of this totemic installation at the entrance of Diamond Heights below Twin Peaks. The sharp curve into the redevelopment district posed a traffic hazard, so officials decided a wall was needed, a wall that could also serve as a site-specific art. This was the winner of a 1966 competition, a strong, bold statement. Decades later, it's shrouded in pines, yet it's a strong yet cryptic relic of its time. And the city of San Francisco was very visionary in planning this, and I think a landmark designation of it would really bring forward that visionary thinking and hopefully inspire other people to learn more about that great mid-century history of San Francisco and Diamond Heights.
Thank you. And I noticed that earlier when the representative from Public Works, was talking about maintenance, you had raised your hand. And do you have, based on your research, any understanding of how it was maintained in the past when it was under the redevelopment agency?
I think that's been the question with all of us. I do have the deed easement, a copy of that, and basically it says it is the city of San Francisco.
Okay.
I have a friend who just started at the SF Arts Commission, so I don't know if they would be involved with helping with shepherd this through as well. But I'm not sure exactly. But we actually have the drawings of what the lot size and everything.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so any other members? I called several names, so please do line on up by the drapes if you would like to speak, and even if I haven't called your name as well.
Good afternoon, supervisors. I'm Betsy Eddy, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Diamond Heights Community Association. And our board enthusiastically supports this landmark status, and this has been a project of ours for several years now. And but I did just want to add to that the dual purpose is the safety wall and an artwork, and that was in the original competition, like Bob Pullum just said. Also, in addition, we do have, with that easement that Bob Pullum was talking about, we have documentation that at the time the the landmark status, at the time that the artwork was commissioned the Arts Commission approved it, that we have documentation that Public Works is required to maintain the artwork. But to go on, one of the important things, you've asked important questions, because one of our immediate concerns is that the trees really need trimming. Right now, trees, the one big tree that you saw in the picture, it's actually in 3 places growing into the structure, and there's many big limbs that I'm afraid are going to drop and damage the sculpture. And so I've been trying to ask the Bureau of Urban Forestry to trim those trees for a long time, because I've maintained the sculpture is owned by the city, and they're not sure about that. But just really quickly, you've got the 18 letters of support. One's from the Glen Park Neighborhood History Project, from the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association, Doko-Omo, and our association. And I do really want to thank Supervisor Sheehy and Colden for moving this legislation through, as well as thanking the staff of the Historic Preservation Commission, particularly Desiree. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
My name is Michael Busk. I was born and raised in San Francisco, and my wife Patricia and I have lived in the same house in Diamond Heights for the last 40 years, admiring the lovely sculpture. San Francisco recently completed an extended celebration of the 66 Summer of Love, a commemoration that included events at virtually every not-for-profit restaurant, neighborhood organization, library, hotel, and cultural institution, including the august DeYoung Museum. Who would have thought? Apart from being able to pull out from your closet funky clothes to see if they will fit, why do so many San Franciscans revere this time in the late 60s? Because it is symbolic of a special segment of the city's soul. This same open-hearted sensibility created Diamond Heights, an inclusive neighborhood that also includes probably more trees than people. The Diamond Heights safety wall is not marble or granite or bronze or even Corten. It is tree. Specifically, it is redwood tree, as in 300, 400, 500-year-old redwood trees. It's impervious to any attack by bugs and the like. It stands as tall as it did originally, and I absolutely agree, of course, with the board's concern that it be cared for. But it is, again, it's redwood. It's kind of caring for itself, but we also need to be sure that we will care for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Dear board members, my name is Pat Hendricks. I've lived in Diamond Heights Village Association, a condominium, for 19 years. Please hear my testimony today regarding the Diamond Heights safety wall. The Diamond Heights Community Association is concerned about the future of the safety wall and the immediate surrounding area. On November 11th, 2017, the front page of the San Francisco Chronicle featured an article about the visit of a young mountain lion to Diamond Heights Village Association, where I live. That may have been the first time many San Franciscans had ever even heard of Diamond Heights neighborhood. Today, we are here to bring to your attentions the existence of the Diamond Heights safety wall, which was commissioned in the 1960s to identify the area. Unless we address this issue, the existence and history of Diamond Heights may be lost. We suggest that this monument be enhanced by clearing out the several Monterey cypress trees behind the statue and creating a plaque to identify the neighborhood and to honor the artist who designed this monument. Help us put Diamond Heights Village on the San Francisco map. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hello, thank you for hearing us. My name is Betty Peskin. I'm a resident of Diamond Heights for the last 21 years. As well, I'm on the board of the Diamond Heights Community Association. This safety wall, which we are calling the Gateway Sculpture, is a gem, and it's one that needs attention, it needs loving care, and it needs focus because it's really in a situation where it can't be seen or appreciated. I urge you to help us accomplish the goal of seeing it as a work of art that will attract people more to our neighborhood to see the beauty of it and to celebrate Diamond Heights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm Ed Scheffner. I'm on the board of the Diamond Heights Village Homeowners Association. And I only want to add to what you've already heard that representing the Homeowners Association, we're certainly very much in favor of designating this the safety wall. It was very startling to see the pictures that you showed earlier, the one from when the wall was first built, where there were no trees, and its current status. I'd only like to point out that those trees, not only are they growing into the wall in certain places, but they're also hanging over the street. So eventually they're going to have to be trimmed back because there are big branches that are going to fall into Clipper at seemingly at a moment's notice. Anyway, that's all I wish to add is our support from the 396 members of the Diamond Heights Village Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Carl Arnson. I live right below the wall. I'm at 44 Amber. So the wall is above my property and 48 Amber. So I came here mostly to answer questions if there might be any. So I've lived there since 1980, and the wall is extremely sturdy. You can see all the concrete at the bottom and the redwood, and it hasn't moved or anything, or had any damage. The problem is the trees around it. We just mentioned about trees cracking. That's happened a lot from there along Portola up towards the high school. Those trees are going to, they're a big danger. But that was good news. The city's taken back trees. So this is imperative that these trees get cut back. As far as maintenance, that's the real thing. Because the only other thing is, from time to time, some of us in the neighborhood will come and clean up the leaves that fall from the trees. But that's the only real sort of maintenance, like even year to year. So if you have any other questions, I'll be... the other thing I wanted to say, as far as the safety wall, that was one reason was built besides this beautiful structure. It's a gateway, just like St. Francis Woods has a gateway. This is ours. Anytime I want anyone who knows Diamond Heights, I just tell them that's at the top of our backyard. But so the next house after 44 and 48 Amber is 52 Amber. A car did go over. The other side of the wall did go down in that backyard. So it's really serving as safety. If you have any other questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, supervisors, members of the public. I'm Starchild, Outreach Director for Libertarian Party of San Francisco. I don't have any particular feelings one way or the other about this particular project, except to say that I always hate to see the trees being cut down. A lot of times I think trees, even if they're perhaps extending over something, breaking something up a little bit, it actually creates a sense that, yeah, that thing's been there a long time and it's becoming one with nature. Have you ever seen any photos of Angkor Wat, a famous monument in Cambodia? It's got all these beautiful old stone temple buildings, and there's tree branches and roots, growing all throughout them. And it actually, I think, makes the site even much more beautiful. So I would suggest that this could perhaps be preserved without, removing the trees. Most of the time when they do that, even if they cut it back, it ends up looking really ugly. But more broadly, I just wanted to, I guess, question the need for, all these landmark designations of various sites. At least in this case, I understand this is government property, so it's not infringing on anyone else's property rights. Although one speaker raised a question of, wasn't sure whether or not it was city property. I don't know if you know the answer to that. You're nodding, that means it is city property?
Sorry, you'll need to continue speaking because we're not going to be doing an interaction here. We'll get to that after you speak.
Okay, no, it was just a question, and I would encourage supervisors to respond to questions when voiced by members of the public. Anyway, yeah, if it's private property and taking away somebody else's property rights, I would, and we as libertarians would oppose that designation, because a lot of times these designations do interfere with people's use of their property. In the mission, they're trying to declare a laundromat as historic, and this is just an example of the abuses that this process can sometimes lead to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public who wish to speak on item 1, please come on up. Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. All right, so I don't know if there are any other updates that either Supervisor Sheehy's office or Planning or Public Works has for us, but I would say that I would probably want to send this out without recommendation, and then by the time this gets to the full board, if we can have those answers to the questions we had earlier, I'd be happy to speak up at the full board meeting, again, after obtaining those answers. Supervisor Safi, any thoughts, since it's just the two of us?
Yeah. It's a very efficient committee. I just want to reiterate for the public, these are the kind of things, as a planner, as someone that's very dedicated to community and what brings community together and design. I love this as a gateway to your community. And there are some real negative histories that are attached with redevelopment, but this seems to be something that's really positive, and it seems as though many of the people that are living in this community have lived there for many years, and it's a stable community. I think this is a beautiful design. I think I'm committed to supporting making this a landmark designation. One of the reasons for the public, for their understanding why we would designate something landmark on public property, is because there is an insatiable desire to use every inch of land in the city to build on. And we would want to, in this instance, I think, preserve this as a way, it's an integral part of this community, rather than removing it and building on public land. In terms of the trees, unfortunately, they're having worked again for the Bureau of Urban Forestry and the Department of Public Works. There were trees that were planted in this city that were, and a lot of thought was not put into what types of trees would be sustainable and right for the environment that they rest in. And that pine tree is not, in my opinion, going to be sustainable in the long run in that environment. And it could, unlike Angkor Wat, and I've actually been to Angkor Wat, you're talking about stone structures that can sustain roots and trees over a long period of time. This is wood, and if the tree fell on that, it would irreparably damage it. So we definitely need to find out who's responsible for the maintenance. I do think that since this is a former redevelopment area, it would be great to have some redevelopment money dedicated to this in terms of the long-term maintenance, because DPW doesn't have that type of funding. So if it's the will of the chair to send this without recommendation, rather than allowing a little more time to find out, I would support that, but my preference would be to hold on and have the departments come back in 1 week and give us that. But if you want to send it out with recommendation, I'll follow your lead.
I was saying without recommendation, so that it's just a notice that we would need the information by Tuesday. And if we get it, then we can have it go forward at the full board. But if not, then I would ask that we continue the item at the full board.
Right, okay, I support that.
Okay, so again, I agree with Supervisor Safi. I think this is a wonderful designation, and I want to thank the neighbors for bringing it to our city's attention, and hopefully now it'll get the care that it actually needs. So with that, we'll do that without objection. Okay.
Matter will be referred without recommendation to the full board, with Member Kim being excused.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Item 2, please.
Item number 2, ordinance amending the planning code to designate 2117 and 2123 Market Street, aka New Era Hall, in Assessor's block number 3543, lot number 12, as a landmark under Article 10 of the Planning Code.
Thank you very much. Once again, we have Colton Lambert from Supervisor Sheehy's office here for this item.
Thank you, Chair Tang. I just wanted to say that the Supervisor's office is in full support of this, and Desiree Smith is here to give a little bit more of the history and significance of the New Era Hall and why it's important. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. SF Gov, can I have the PowerPoint, please? Desiree Smith, Planning Department staff. I am here to present the proposed landmark designation of New Era Hall, located at 2117-2123 Market Street, at the intersection of Market and Church Streets. The Historic Preservation Commission added New Era Hall to the Landmark Designation Work Program on June 15, 2011. It was initially identified out of the Market Octavia Plan. On December 7, 2016, the HPC initiated designation, and on April 19, 2017, unanimously voted to recommend landmark designation. Located at 2117-2123 Market Street, New Era Hall is significant as the work of master architect August Norden and for its associations with the rebuilding of San Francisco after the disaster of 1906 and the establishment of Upper Market Street as a commercial corridor, as well as the Visalia Stock Saddle Company, a pioneering custom saddle business. The building is also a rare extant property, a purpose-built, mixed-use building with a social hall and commercial frontage. Of the 72 social halls remaining in San Francisco, New Era Hall is one of only 9 examples of its type which survive and retain a high degree of architectural integrity. New Era Hall provided crucial meeting space for organizations displaced by the 1906 earthquake and fire, such as the Oddfellows, the Knights of Pythias, and the Woodmen of the World. It also housed a variety of commercial tenants, the most durable of which was the Visalia Stock Saddle Company, which was originally founded by Mexican Americans in the town of Visalia, California. The company, which has statewide significance, contributed to the development of what is today known as the Western Saddle design. New Era Hall retains the design features that were present during the 2 established periods of significance, 1906 to 1909 for the construction date and events following the earthquake, and 1911 to 1953 for the building's tenure with the Visalia Stock Saddle Company. The property retains both exterior and interior character-defining features, all of which are included and detailed in the Landmark Designation Report. The department received a letter in support of designation from longtime tenant Academy of Ballet, while the property owner Crossroads Trading initially sent a letter in opposition to designation. It has since revoked its opposition after sitting down with department staff to discuss the benefits of landmark designation. The HPC believes the building meets the established eligibility requirements and that landmark status is warranted. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I think I might have some questions, but I'd like to go to public comment first and see who's here to speak on this item. So I'm going to open up to public comment. You have 2 minutes. Please come on up.
Hi, my name is Zori Kara, and I'm the director of the Academy of Ballet. I've been a teacher there since 1988. I've been there in the earthquake in 89. I took class there in 1983. It has been a ballet studio since 1953, and I have the dance magazine that announces the opening of it. The Academy of Ballet is the longest running ballet school in San Francisco. We're even in Tales of a City, in the book. The building is absolutely beautiful inside. It kept all the original walls, that beautiful, beautiful, huge hall with these huge windows. And considering the fact that the rest of the block now is apartment buildings, I think that we should keep some of the beauty of San Francisco. It's been a home to a big part of the population of San Francisco. We have 320 students right now, and I would like to keep as much as possible the art in that neighborhood, because there would not be any other spaces of that size and magnitude to be able to house a ballet academy. If anybody wants any more history, American Ballet Theater used to rehearse in that space. The movie She Dances Alone about Nijinsky's daughter with Patrick Dupont, who was the director of the Paris Opera. Ulanova rehearsed in that studio. It has its own life and its own history. Thank you. I would appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much for that information. Any other members of the public who wish to comment on item 2?
Good afternoon again, supervisors, members of the public. This is Starchild, Outreach Director for the Libertarian Party of San Francisco. This item sounds like it's exactly the kind of item I was talking about in my last comment, where basically the city government is denying people use of their property through landmark designations that would restrict how they can use it. I can appreciate the sentiment of wanting to save old, beautiful architecture. I love old architecture myself, and I hate to see stuff replaced by new soulless buildings, that's old and it has character and history and so forth. But I think it's really important that we preserve as much as possible people's freedom to do what they want with the spaces that they have, and abridging this freedom often has unintended consequences that people don't consider. Every landmark designation, every land use restriction, every zoning restriction contributes to the problem of homelessness. We have thousands of people living homeless on the streets of San Francisco because of the high price of housing. And that price of housing is high and rents are high because the costs have been driven up so much by all these various government measures that make it more difficult for people to own property tax is a huge burden, and it gets passed along to renters, both residential and commercial, in the form of higher rents. And if you reduce the amount of leeway in using spaces to their maximum capacity because something's been zoned as historic, again, that's taking away dwelling units. It's resulting in more people not being able to find places to live. And the city spends, $250 million a year in programs and services for the homeless, and that expense is increasing, as a result of things like this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other members of the public who wish to comment on item 2? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. So one question that I do have is, and I didn't see that the property owner was here in the audience, but we did see in the packet that looks like the Academy of Ballet is in support of this. The property owner is not. Has there been a conversation between the city and the property owner?
So the property owner is actually no longer in opposition. And I do have an email. It was sent after the packets were, after submission. But essentially, the property owner is interested in applying for the Mills Act. We sat down and talked with them about potential benefits of landmark designation, including financial incentives like the Mills Act, use of historical building code, potential legacy business, financial incentives that are available not only to the tenant but also to, which would be the Academy of Ballet, but also to the property owner. And so I can share that email here. It's pretty brief, basically just indicating that they're no longer in opposition.
Okay, well, that is good to hear. Thank you for that, and I will definitely take a look at the email. So given that the property owner is no longer in opposition, then I think that should be fine. Supervisor Safai, do you have any questions, comments?
I wanted to ask a question to the planning department or some of the tenants. Sounds like the ballet has been there for a significant number of years. Have they applied for legacy business designation?
So they're in the process, and I know from Supervisor Sheehy's office that they are in support of that.
Right.
So
because they're a wonderful candidate.
Absolutely.
They've been there for a significant amount of time. This is the first I've heard of it since I don't do ballet, but to know that you've been there for over 30, sounds like over 30 years, that's a significant amount of time. And you said you're going to provide us with an email? Oh.
Thank you. Sorry,
Oh,
we're just
good.
reading through the email.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then perhaps we can get a motion on this item.
Yeah, make a motion to send this item out to the full board with positive designation for landmark designation for 2117, 2123 Market Street.
Thank you for the thorough motion. Okay, we'll do that without objection. All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Clerk, are there any other items before us today?
That completes the agenda for today.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.